Morning all. Alright, so we're starting off today looking at the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I'm wearing this jersey because I really like this one and I wish they'd use it again at some point. Anyhow, the Toronto Maple Leafs have had an amazing 5 years in the regular season. They have had quite the run of success. The problem has been the postseason. So, when we're looking at the season preview and we're looking at where they're going to finish, in the back of everyone's mind, I would think is, yeah, but what's going to happen in the playoffs? And I get it, and I think we're still there. So 2017-2018 is where we start in this 5 year journey to take a look back. 49, 26, and 7 was their record that year. They were second in goals for and 11th in goals against. So overall, very good numbers that year and a first round loss. 2018-2019, they go 46, 28, and 8. Fourth in goals for and 18th in goals against. So keeping the puck out of their net was a bit of an issue. And that issue worsened in 2019-2020. They were 36, 25, and 9 at the time of the pause. They were third in goals for. They were 27th in goals against. So the argument over their goaltending and their defense has been going on pretty much throughout the Austin Matthews era. 2020, 2021, playing in the North, they had very good numbers. 35, 14, and 7. Overall, they were 6th in goals for and 7th in goals against. They had a 3-1 series lead against Montreal. Yeah, they choked that one. So, 2021, 2022, they finished 54, 21, and 7 overall. They're second in goals for and 18th in goals against. Now, the overall numbers on the defense are good. The goaltending has been letting them down at points over the last 5 years, whether through injury and then exposing a lack of organizational depth at points again over the last 5 years. However you want to look at it, this is just a team that the numbers have been pretty good in the regular season, and then in the postseason they can't get over the hump. Whether it's against Washington, Boston, Columbus, Montreal, Tampa, they just have not been able to get over that hurdle that is the first round. And I do agree that it's psychological as much as anything at this point. So their worst month this past season was October. They were 4-4-1. They stumbled a bit out of the gate. Then in November, they were 12-2-0. So an excellent November followed up what was a mediocre October. And I remember during that October, there were talks about what's wrong with Toronto and how do you fix it. But they figured it out. Exits from the team. There are some interesting ones here. Ilya Mikheyev, who signs a big money contract in Vancouver. We'll see how that turns out for him and for the Canucks. Jason Spezza, who retired. Ilya Lyubushkin, who goes to the market. Jack Campbell and Peter Mrazek, both goaltenders, gone. And it's interesting, too, that right before the Mrazek trade, Kyle Dubas was talking up Mrazek and how he could bounce back and have a good year, and then trades him. He needed the cap space, too, which they still don't really have. And they still have Sandin outstanding as a defenseman who needs to be signed. He's RFA. So new faces. Ilya Samsonov in net, along with Matt Murray, and that will be your tandem. And of course, Matt Murray signed that big money contract in Ottawa, didn't live up to that contract, ended up being waived at points last year. So it'll be interesting to see how this turns out. This, again, is a player from the Sioux. This is what Kyle Dubas knows. He has brought in players he's familiar with. Oh, and hey, Matt Murray does have 2 Stanley Cup rings. And both of those Cup rings, he played a role in earning. So we'll see. Maybe that's the answer in the playoffs, right? Nicolas Aube-Kubel comes in. He has a Cup ring, but he was a healthy scratch at points for the Avalanche during that run as well. Adam Gaudette, who has now bounced around the league a little bit, from Vancouver to Chicago to Ottawa and now Toronto. We'll see how long he stays in Toronto. He may audition for that 4th line center spot. Jordy Ben and Victor Mete, they both add depth on the blue line. It's unlikely they're going to play very much, if at all, in Mete's case, probably. Mete, it just feels like he's played his way out of the NHL right now. So down the middle, this is a pretty good team down the middle. And again, I'm using Cap Friendly's projections here because they don't have Kerfoot in the middle. So Austin Matthews. We know Austin Matthews. We know how good he is. He's coming off of his first 60-goal season. I don't have any doubts he can hit 60. I don't have any doubts he can hit 65. Tavares, second-line center. It's an expensive second-line center, but it's quite the 1-2 punch when it's going. And it really is a matter of getting that going in the playoffs and managing to keep that momentum. David Kamp's listed as the number 3 center, and Nick Abruzzese is listed as the number 4 center. We'll see if that is in fact the case. I was impressed with Kamp's first year in Toronto. I thought he did quite well. But of course, again, with Toronto, the question isn't really, well, who played well during the regular season and who are the unsung heroes? It becomes, yeah, but what happened in the first round? And we're to the point where that's all people are really going to talk about. So don't be surprised, Leaf fans, if any winning streak the Leafs go on, the Leafs could be 20 points clear in first place in the Atlantic. And under my review for that 16th win in a row for Toronto will be, yeah, but what's going to happen in the playoffs? So that's where Toronto's at now. Regular season, I think at this point, means extremely little. So do they dial it back? That's one question I have with Toronto. Does Toronto maybe do what other teams have done to get over the hump? Maybe they dial it back with 2 weeks left, like Colorado did last year. Maybe they just dial it back altogether, like the Capitals did when they went from winning back-to-back President's Trophies to actually winning the Stanley Cup. I think they won the President's Trophy in both 2016 and 2017. Didn't win it in 2018. Actually, if you looked at the lineups of the teams that won the President's Trophy and then the one that won the Cup, I would argue the better teams were the ones that got knocked out and had the President's Trophies. But that's not what we remember. So Toronto has to figure out that balance. Physicality is something they need to be able to equal in the playoffs with other teams, although hit totals are usually pretty good for Toronto. And keep in mind, they're a very good puck control team as well. At least they have been through a lot of this run for Kyle Dubas. He preaches a lot of it. One thing that has frustrated people is he talks analytics and then his trades may not back up the analytical side of things. It is amusing to see that separation there between what he says and then what ends up happening. But he may understand, and I think this is where a lot of GMs are. The analytics are important, but they're part of what you need in order to succeed in the NHL. So having a team that analytically is fantastic is great, but it's not the only step in order to be a champion. So, because if it was that, we would see other teams doing that too, and just exclusively. Now, channel vote, pretty close, even though there's 25 times the vote on one channel over another, or 24 around that, because it's 1.1 thousand votes on one, 25,000 on the other, so around that. Anyways, first or second, 61% of the Hockey Channel say yes. First or second place for Toronto, 63% of the Entertainment Guy channel. 30% say third or fourth on the Hockey Channel, 27% on the secondary channel. Fifth or sixth, both channels say 3% on that. And seventh or eighth, if you want to know how many people just hate Toronto, it's 6% on the main channel and 7% on the Entertainment Guy channel. Out of, as I said, 25,000 votes on the Hockey Guy, 1,100 votes on the Entertainment Guy. So, because again, I can't see any reason to think, unless you are of the mind that Murray and Samsonov are going to blow up in the net, why anybody would think that, well, they won't finish behind both, say, Montreal and Buffalo. They're definitely going to finish below Buffalo. Because Montreal, at this point, I don't think there's much of a chance they finish higher than 8th, but we'll see, right? Health and all that. But yeah, for Toronto, I can't see 7th or 8th. I can't see that. Cup odds, they're listed at plus 850. They're listed as second in Stanley Cup odds behind the Avalanche at plus 400. So a lot of people are going to bet on them. A lot of people are betting on them. We'll see how it works out. Cap space, no. Their top 4 defense. I actually am listing the top 6 for a reason. I've done it with a couple other teams. I'm not sure who gets those top 4 minutes or for how long. And then here's Rasmus Sandin, who I've got on the breakthrough candidate list, waiting for a contract. So you got Morgan Riley and TJ Brody, Jake Muzzin and Justin Hall. Probably your top 4. But Mark Giordano's going to get special teams time. He's going to get a lot of ice time altogether. And then you got Timothy Liljegren. Is Liljegren going to swap spots with Hall? Is he going to get that shot at the top 4 minutes or not? And if they sign Sandin, they need to figure out the cap space thing too. But yeah, if they sign Sandin, where does he fit in on this blue line? And if you sign him, does that mean Justin Hall might be on his way out? Because Hall's one of the guys here under the expiring contracts. He is always speculated as the one who's probably going. He is still in Toronto last time I checked. And I say that because things can happen fast. Phil the Thrills off to Vegas. All right, which is too bad. I mean, if Phil the Thrill had gone back to Toronto, there would have been some. It would have been entertaining to see the reaction to that. And he can still score, and he doesn't miss games. And by score, I mean assists. He only had the 8 goals last year. Now, on the breakthrough side of things, I've got Rasmus Sandin, because I think he's a good young defenseman, and I think he's due. And Nick Robertson. Nick Robertson has had injury problems. He's been in the minors as well. I think this should be the year they give him a shot at regular ice time, and maybe he gets a shot at playing on the third line and could earn his way to the second. But Robertson has some good offensive instincts. We'll see how things turn out and where he fits in with the new players that have come in. But again, Obe, Kubel, and Gaudette are the only forwards on that list, and they wouldn't be playing the same role as Robertson, so they're not exactly playing for the same role or same job. So your coach is still Sheldon Keefe, and the question becomes, if Toronto gets off to a slow start, does Keefe have a long leash? And if the Toronto Maple Leafs, Toronto Blue Jays are wild card, but if the Toronto Maple Leafs get off to a poor start, does that affect the job stability for Kyle Dubas? Because there's always going to be that, oh, well, Dubas needs, and all the arguments, I swear, Arizona could sign a player, and in the comments you'd find, why can't Dubas do this? So it really is an issue where people have focused on Dubas, young GM, he is learning. And if the goaltending doesn't work out, if Toronto's off to a rough start, his job could be affected. The one thing that was notable in this offseason was nobody was trading their starting goaltender without wanting a mint back. So one of the reasons you end up with Samsonov and Matt Murray as the answers for Toronto, starting goaltenders just aren't available. I've had that argument with people where they say, well, this team could just go out and get another goaltender. From who? Starting goaltenders are tough to find. And it feels like, while 5 years ago it was like a goaltending renaissance, now it feels like you got maybe 5 or 6 game-breaking, difference-making goaltenders, and then you've got kind of everybody else, right? And varying levels of success, which definitely fluctuate from season to season. Goaltenders are very hard to predict. So it could be, tough for Dubas to go out during this offseason and find somebody who's willing to move a goaltender, other than, say, Florida. Maybe Florida says, hey, Bobrovsky, which, great, fine, but how in the world do you make that contract work, and why would Florida offer that to a team in their own division, right? I'm just throwing that out there as an example. So Toronto's leader in goals was Austin Matthews with 60. Mitch Marner had 35. Assists, Mitch Marner had 62 to lead the team, and Morgan Riley had 58. Morgan Riley had an excellent season. Their special teams, power play, 27.3%. Penalty kill, 82.1%. Expiring contracts, Alexander Kerfoot, Pierre Engvall, David Kampf, who, again, I think has played well. Hopefully he follows that up with another good year this year. Nicholas Aube-Kubel, Michael Bunting, who has shown he's worth some money. We'll see if he can follow up last season, where he was in the running for the Calder, which would have, of course, upset people because he's older than the guys who were in the Calder race with him. Wayne Simmons, Justin Hall, and Jordy Ben are also all on expiring contracts where they will be unrestricted free agents at the end of it. So, in the case of the Toronto Maple Leafs, it's going to be a very interesting season. I look forward to covering it. I look forward to the overreactions with wins and losses, both by fans of Toronto and people who cheer for the demise of Toronto. Again, it's always interesting, it's always entertaining, and I'm here to report on it the whole time. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.